Hi guys, it's First Arena Science class. In our previous video, we took a look at scalar and vector quantities. Please try to watch these previous videos so that you can get a great understanding of this class. Now, today we are going to be looking at measuring instruments and their applications, where they are applicable. Now, you see, it is impossible to do away with measurements in physics or in real life situation. We'll have gotten to different places like the markets. In the markets, we notice that in buying and selling, we measure goods and services. Now, all these goods and services are measured with different instruments. Now, measurements in physics are related to the three basic fundamental quantities, which are the mass, the length, and the time. All measurements are related to that three basic fundamental quantities. Now, today, I'm going to be explaining to you different instruments that can be used to measure mass and length, which is our major topics that is always asked often in Jamb. Now, for mass, let's take instrument for mass. The following instruments can be used to measure mass of the body or a substance. Number one, we can use a chemical balance. Number two, we can use a beam balance. Number three, we can use a lever balance. Now, this fourth one cannot be used to measure mass. But in most of your textbook, they always include it there. So that you don't get confused in your option in Jamb. The spring balance, which is the fourth one. The spring balance can only be used to measure weights. These three can be used to measure mass. Now, the beam balance and the chemical balance, they work on the principle of moments. That is what they are working on. They only work on the principle of moments. So, we use these two to measure the mass of the body. In answer to spring balance, the reason why spring balance cannot be used to measure mass is because the spring balance depends on gravity. So therefore, it works on the principle of Hooke's law. Yeah, that is what it is working on. Due to what? The dependence of this balance on gravity. Are we together? Please, they do ask this question. Don't forget, chemical balance or beam balance or lever balance does not depend on gravity. They only depend on what? The quantity of matter in that substance. So they are independent of gravity, but the spring balance depends on gravity. Now, let's take a look at the other instruments. The instrument that can be used to measure the length of a body. We know that we can measure length with different instruments. Number one, we have the one that is well known to us, which is the meter rule. The meter rule is an instrument that is used to measure length. The number two, we have the caliper. Number three, we have the vernier caliper. Number four, we have the micrometer screw gauge. Now, these are the four instruments that is used to measure length. But each of these instruments can be used to measure different kinds of length. For example, meter rule and all its kind. You know, when we said kinds of meter rule, we're referring to all this your tape rule, all these the surveying rule that normally used to what measure land or whatever. All together. Now, our normal long meter rule. So, meter rule can be used to measure large lengths. For example, distance of a building, or let me say the length of a table, we can make use of meter rule. That is what it's used for. Now, you see caliper can be used to measure the diameter of a sphere. Let me say I have a sphere like this. This is a sphere. The caliper can look exactly like this, like this, like this. Now, the caliper will be used to measure the diameter from year to year of this sphere. That is that for caliper. You now see, majorly, this vernier caliper, or that's another what kind of caliper. This vernier caliper is designed to measure a length that is small, or let me say that is smaller than that is small, very small. Vernier caliper can be used to measure small lengths. For example, I want to measure the diameter of a cylinder. The diameter of a small ball. A small ball, like all these our normal billiard balls, all these small balls. We can measure the diameter of these small balls using a vernier caliper. That is number one. It can be used to measure the diameter of a cylinder, outer diameter of a cylinder. At the same time, it can be used to measure the internal diameter of a test tube or a cylinder. Don't forget that the test tube looks like a cylinder. It's like this. So the internal diameter of a test tube can be measured also using a vernier caliper. Nobody was going to give you draw the diagram of the caliper. No one will be asking you this. That's why I will make their diagrams. Now, the first one is the micrometer screw gauge. A micrometer screw gauge is used to measure very small length. Don't forget, I said very small length. This kind of length that we're referring to here are like the thickness of paper. Thickness of paper. Can you see how small the length is? This micrometer screw gauge is accurate enough to measure it. The thickness of paper, that is an example. We can use to measure the thickness of a wire. That's another example. You can use to measure the diameter of a pendulum bob. A small pendulum bob. The pendulum bob itself, the diameter of a small pendulum bob can be measured using a micrometer screw gauge. You see, all these instruments will be asked. They do ask questions under each of these. For example, their application, where do you normally use them? They ask us questions on it. Now, another one is time. We know that time can be measured using different timing instruments. For example, you can use your wall clock, you can use your wristwatch, you can use your stopwatch. No, majorly, little questions are asked under timing instruments. And also, in volume, we can also measure the volume of a substance. Instruments that are employed in measurement of volume are the burettes, the pipettes, or let's say the pipettes, the burettes, the pipettes. We also have the measuring flask. Yes, the measuring flask can all be used to measure the volume of a liquid. These are where you should focus when reading for your Jamb. Nowadays, you don't need to read above what you are not asked from Jamb. So these are these, and also the application. I hope this thing is helpful. If you find it helpful, please try subscribe to my channel and also like the video so that it can help me out in doing analysis on YouTube. Thank you.